So there's this idea that's floating around that a dude on TRT and a natural have matching testosterone levels from blood work. And that their muscle building capability is the same. This is not true, you guys. We don't have the same physiology, okay? We don't build muscle or recover the same way. So here's the reality. Equal testosterone levels doesn't mean equal physiology. Okay, so a lot of people think this, or I've seen it online, and that's just not how it works. So in this video, I'm gonna set you straight. Okay, I'm gonna give you the reality when it comes to natural versus TRT enhanced. Now, I did my labs March of this year, and my endogenous levels are good. They are good, boy, because these balls are big. Them family jewels. They're still, they're doing their job, dog. They're still working down there. So my total test levels, it's 932 nanograms per deciliter. Now my free test measured at 175 picograms per milliliter. Now I want to show you, because I can say any number here, right? I want to show you these results. So I used Rhythm, okay? I've gone in and done blood work. I've used Everly Well. I've used Let's Get Checked. And those two were finger. Well, Let's Get Checked was. So Rhythm actually gets you on the arm. You just put this contraption on your arm and it injects a needle, of course, and it draws blood. And some people will say, oh, it's not venous blood, so it's not gonna be actual, real results. But I've compared all of it and it seems to be within the same ranges. All right, I like at-home testing because it's just more convenient. I can control the variables a bit better. So I prefer at-home testing, honestly. And the blood up here, it's still capillary blood, but it's better, it's more pure, I guess, than the finger testing. Okay, so that's what Rhythm does. You just put it on your arm. So it's a bit better than bit more accurate than the finger prick, the capillaries on your finger. So I'm gonna refresh this because some of y'all might say, oh, this is not real. So I'm just gonna refresh that right there. And there we are, okay? So we are sitting at the levels that I had mentioned. Now my estrogen is a little bit higher, but that's because my total test is a little bit higher as well. So it goes up with your testosterone. That's just kind of how that works. Now that is where my test levels are, you guys. And I got the balls to prove it, but I ain't showing you all that, okay? You get that on my OnlyFans, so top link in the description if you want to check that out. And again, guys, this is all natty, okay? So no TRT, no injections, no hormonal protocols. So this is what happens when you train properly, you manage your body fat, you sleep like a baby, and you stop wrecking your physiology. But as we know, a lot of guys jump on the TRT instead, and they don't fix the basic inputs, right? So you need to fix the inputs, and if you do this, your body responds. And in many cases, you don't need to replace the system, you just need to essentially start supporting the system, okay? Now, endogenous versus exogenous TRT, it's what we're talking about. We're not talking about that steroid bullshit okay? But a lot of guys out there that are using TRT, they're running a lot more than just that. So you see that a lot. Oh, I'm just on TRT. Yeah, not sure about that, buddy. So even though my test levels are on the higher end, my endogenous test levels, it doesn't mean that someone on TRT with the same testosterone levels, the same lab work, it doesn't mean that they will have the same physiology when it comes to building muscle or even fat loss, because this does affect fat loss. A lot of people say it doesn't, but testosterone definitely affects fat loss. That's another video, okay? Now I bring this up because I've seen comments that it's the same, right? So if you have the same levels of blood work, it just doesn't matter. You know, so the argument is that if testosterone levels are equivalent, that it shouldn't matter whether they are endogenous or exogenous, because the hormone would behave the same and produce the same results. But that's not true, you guys. It's not true. Now, muscle growth isn't just about testosterone levels. There's a lot of factors to muscle growth, but we're talking about the hormone here. So it's not just about how your body perceives what that amount is. It's about exposure, it's about signaling and system regulation, okay? So I'm just gonna go over a few reasons why it's essentially not the same endogenous versus exogenous, okay? So the first one, so we have pulsatile versus sustained exposure. So endogenous testosterone, which is internal. So endogenous is internal, exogenous is external. So endogenous testosterone fluctuates. It's diurnal, right? So in the morning it peaks and it drops throughout the day. And this limits anabolic signaling. Exogenous testosterone, it keeps levels elevated, the anabolic levels. They're more elevated and it increases overall exposure, basically, okay? And this is true especially if they overlap, since they have different half-lives. So, you know, a lot of guys will have a certain testosterone compound that will maybe have a half-life of 7 days, then maybe another one that has a half-life of like 3 or 4 days, and they'll overlap them. And so they're maybe taking 2, maybe 3 shots a week. So it keeps those levels sustained. Okay, so this is much different than endogenous levels where it bumps up, it's diurnal, and it drops. So our levels as a natural, like I say, it's diurnal, so it's like within the day, right? Peaks, and it drops. So their levels are more like this. You know, depending on their shot cycles and the compounds they're using and whatever half-lives they are, okay? So number 2, adaptive versus fixed signaling. Now, endogenous levels adjust based on stress, sleep, energy balance, many things. Exogenous levels remain artificially stable regardless of those inputs. Okay, so endogenous testosterone is less resilient when compared to an external shot and this source coming in, because it's not, it's less resilient because it's not as, it's more unstable based off of lifestyle and what happens and basically your habits and your behaviors. Now, number 3, So regulated system versus overridden system. So endogenous production is designed to keep testosterone within a controlled range. Okay, so basically that means any increase in muscle building signals are essentially temporary. Okay, it rises, then it gets pulled back down. All right, but whenever you inject testosterone, you shut that system off and replace it with a fixed dose. So now the signal doesn't get pulled back, it kind of stays elevated. All right, so ultimately, it comes back to this right here. Okay, so this is endogenous and this is exogenous. Muscle growth is affected by how long this anabolic signal stays elevated over time. So, guys, like the reality is, I want to put this here because I want to write this. Endogenous testosterone is not equivalent to exogenous testosterone in context. Okay, so, and of course this is the context that I'm giving you here. All right. So even if total T is the same, and even if free T is the same, the internal environment is not the same. Okay, at equal blood levels, the enhanced users are not actually at equal levels. They are running at higher, it's basically a higher effective exposure because it's more of a constant exposure. It's more resilient than natural hormones. On paper, testosterone's testosterone, right? But in the body, it doesn't operate quite like that. So one is injected and gets that constant dose no matter what. And our internal dose is dependent on a host of factors, that internal dose that we get pumped out into our system. And not only is it diurnal, you guys, but how high it gets in the morning is based on a lot of things, like I had mentioned. What if you don't get sleep? You're capped. What if you have a hard training session? You know, that's gonna push testosterone levels down. Body fat levels, there's so many factors that determine kind of how high diurnally this testosterone peaks in the morning, how high it peaks. Okay? And this is why endogenous testosterone is less resilient. Okay, natural production is part of a regulated system, while injected testosterone overrides the system. It's kind of like that simple. So even at similar levels, the physiological environment is not the same, and that does affect muscle growth outcomes. So again, this means that even at the same testosterone level from labs, TRT, it creates a more anabolic environment than natural production does. And you got to remember, natural testosterone fluctuates and is tightly regulated. TRT, it provides more stable, sustained levels. And this leads to more continuous muscle protein synthesis, better recovery, and greater overall growth potential. So despite matching blood levels. TRT users effectively get more consistent and usable anabolic signaling than naturals do. All right, so my endogenous at the 932 and 175, so total and free, it doesn't hold the same power as an exogenous 932 and 175. So yes, even TRT has its own muscle building potency when compared to us naturals. Like, that's the reality, guys. As we know, that's very much the truth with anabolic steroids. But it's the same for this. I mean, it's not the same. It's not as comparable. But to say that TRT doesn't have its own growth potency when the labs are the same, blood levels are the same, it's just not accurate. Okay, there is more potency with exogenous sources than endogenous sources. But guys, even though we may still be at this disadvantage, I wouldn't want it any other way. Okay, that's the truth. So give me the grind. Give me the hard path. I can still build muscle without the bullshit TRT. I don't need it, and neither do you. So tap that top link in the description. It takes you to my program, Natty Aesthetics. We don't play this drug game, guys. So if you're in your 20s, 30s, or even 40s, and you're thinking about hopping on this shit, let's see what we can do first. Okay? Fix yourself. You need to stop listening to these TRT steroid peptide clowns on the internet. Drug dependence is weak. Let's push those natty levels high. Let's get them up there. Let's get them up and build natural muscle. So, don't neuter yourself like these other dudes. Keep your balls.